Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Counselor's Couch 101. I'm Jim Stump, which you probably know that. And I want to thank you all for your comments and your emails, especially suggestions about holiday issues and like that. And I have to admit to you all right now, I could use your help, particularly the ladies. See, whenever I go shopping, whenever I need something, I always take a lady along with me, right? Someone who knows fashion, someone who knows styles and keeps up with the trends and so forth. I'm not saying they're a clothes horse or they're vacuous or anything of that sort, but women just sort of seem to get a feel for what looks good, what works good, etc. So, you know, if you want to take along your wife, you do that, or you take along somebody who can help you with those kind of decisions. What's going on for me right now is that I have a neighbor. This 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 is a really good neighbor. Before this guy moved in many years ago, I had the worst neighbors on earth, and I was planning on moving. I didn't want to move, but they were just that horrible. Couldn't even come home. It was just a misery to be in my own house, right? But they moved out, and this new family moved in. This gentleman, he's probably in his 30s, late 30s by now, and he's a mechanic. He can work on anything that has wheels and an engine, right? He has worked on everybody's vehicle all up and down this neighborhood here. He has helped out with RVs, trucks, cars of all sorts, makes, and etc. And he even restores and rebuilds old cars. He takes these old rusted out shells of um, antiquated automobiles. He takes them into his shop. He tears them all apart. He builds them all up, and then he takes them out and gets them painted and whatever else they do. Takes a long time, costs a lot of money, and they come out gorgeous. And he just does that because he enjoys working on vehicles, right? So yeah, he's helped me out many, many times. He's just an excellent neighbor, nice guy. Has a couple of daughters who are approaching teens. I don't know, they're 11, 12, maybe 13 in that area like that. Well, here's the dilemma, folks. A while back, it was about 11 o'clock at night. I was trying to go to bed, went to sleep. Well, actually, I didn't go to sleep. I went to bed and I started feeling a pain. And I was fearful because I knew what that pain was. It wasn't a life threatening situation. Anyone who has been through it knows what it feels like and knows that it's not going to kill you. I'm talking about kidney stones, right? I had my first kidney stone at the ripe old age of 24. They carted me off in an ambulance. I was lying on the street in the snow. It was January in Boston. There was snow all over the place. I was trying to drive my car and get back home, but I couldn't make it. It was just too painful. I just couldn't focus on the road, and I was afraid I was going to get an accident. So I pulled off the highway into a neighborhood that I didn't know anything about. I just pulled to the side of the road. I opened the door and fell out of my car, and I was lying there on the road in the snow because the pain was so much. And at that point, I thought I was dying, right? Well, folks scooped me up, called an ambulance, took me down to Massachusetts General Hospital, and we found out that I had a kidney stone, 24 years old. I asked the doctor, I said, what causes kidney stones? And he said, well, it could be a lot of things. I said, give me some ideas. And one of the things he mentioned was calcium. And I said to myself, okay, calcium, what's calcium? Milk. Anything having to do with milk, right? So after I recovered from that bout, I just put all ice cream and milk products away. I simply wouldn't touch them. And I didn't have another problem for many, many, many years, right? Just no more kidney stone issues and taking me off to the hospital. But that particular night, not too long ago, I had that same kind of attack and I knew what it was. I knew it was a kidney stone. So I got myself together, got dressed. I went out the front door, got in my car. I was going to drive over to the emergency room of the hospital. I was hoping that I can make it. But the pain got so much that once again, I couldn't focus to drive. I was afraid I was going to get in an accident and I didn't want to have more troubles than I already did. And if I did have an accident, I wouldn't be at the hospital where I'd get the help I needed. So I called my neighbor, this guy I was telling you about. I mean, he was right next door to me. Houses side by side, right? He's right here, right through that window. And I called him up and nobody answered, right? It was 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night like that. This guy, he works in trucking. He was a dispatcher at that time, I believe. He does all sorts of things having to do with really, really large trucks and maintenance and driving and dispatching, all sorts of things. He gets up at like 3 a.m. His entire family turns off the lights around 7 p.m. The wife, the children, the neighbor, all of them, right? They go to bed early. So this is like 11:30 p.m. and I'm calling him and there's no answer. So what I did was I hit the text button and I said, "Hey neighbor, it's your neighbor. I'm out here in the driveway. I need to go to the hospital." Um, you know, that's about all I said. I don't remember. And I pushed the button, I pushed send. And I didn't know if he was going to get it or not because he didn't answer the phone when the phone rang, right? But about 5, 6, 7 minutes later, he came running out of his house, right? And he was dressed for bed. And he had slipped on some shoes and came running over. He came running up to me and said, "Jim, what's the matter?" I said, "Man, I got to go to the hospital." I said, "I'm sorry to bother you, but I got to go to the hospital. I don't think I can drive myself." He said, "No problem." He ran back in his house. He got dressed. He got his truck keys. He picked me up. He put me in his truck and he drove me down to the emergency room, right? When we got there, we sort of had to sit there and wait in line for an intake. And I was dealing with the pain, but I was finding it manageable because, like I said, I knew it was not going to kill me, right? He sat there with me for about an hour and a half until they admitted me. And at that point, as you probably all know, they were not going to let anyone else pass the admission desk, right? You could only go in there if you were a patient. So I told him, I said, "You go ahead, go home." I said, "When I get out, I'll take a Lyft or an Uber to get back home, right?" And he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Fine." He said, "If you need anything, text me. I'll be there," right? Well, I was in the emergency room area, you know how they do it, for several hours, and finally they loaded me up with, I think it was saline. You know, um, they put water in your system to flush the thing out, and they gave me pain pills and like that, right? And so finally the pain went away, and they told me that I could go back home. I went outside. I called a Lyft, got a ride home, and went to bed. The next morning I got up and went back to work as usual because there are bills to pay and like that. But the thing of it is, my problem is, I have never done anything for my neighbor. Nothing. It's not that I don't want to. I just don't know what to do for the guy, right? He's not wealthy. I'm not wealthy. It's not that I'm going to buy him something, buy him a coat or a sweater or a Pendleton, something he might like. I don't know what he likes in that regard, right? I know that he is very family oriented. He's out in the patio all the time barbecuing, you know, meals for his family. Does that a lot. He spends a lot of time with his kids and his wife and like that. I know that, but we don't hang out together, right? I don't have kids his age that we can be on the same soccer team, parents club together, right? So I don't know him that well. I know that he's a real good guy. He has a very firm philosophy, believes in what's doing right and doing good in the community. I once asked him about that. I said, "Man, I got to do something for you." And he said, "No." He said, "I don't need anything." He said, "I know it comes back to me." Right? Hang on. It gets me, folks. And I understood exactly what it meant. He says, "It comes back. You just do something for somebody. It always comes back." And I said, "Well, I know that. But in the meantime, I'm in this dilemma." Now, you've heard the expression, "Well, we can't pay it back, so we pay it forward." Of course, I try to do that. But I want this neighbor to know that I appreciate he worked on my car. He took me to the hospital. He's done other things. He brought me food on occasion or two, right? Just a wonderful neighbor, great guy. What do you do? What kind of a gift can I give my neighbor for these holidays? Just to say thanks, you know? Thanks for being a good guy. Thanks for carting me to the hospital. Got any suggestions? I'm at a loss, folks. But I would like to do something, and I would like it to be good. Please, let me know what you think. I appreciate the fact that you came and stayed this far. I look forward to talking with you next time. Most importantly, I look forward to your comments and suggestions. I really appreciate them all. God bless. Talk with you next time.